All right. The timer is going. The music is off, which means we're going to chat at you guys for an hour. So hi, everybody. Welcome. If you've been rolling nat ones on your charisma checks lately, we're here to give you some inspiration. We'll be covering a range of topics today to help you improve your networking skills in the TTRPG world and beyond. Whether you're new to the scene and want to make the most of your first impressions, or a veteran in the space looking to improve your skills, everyone here is ready to share their knowledge and experience so you can level up. So thanks for being here today. I'll go ahead and introduce myself to set the example, and then the rest of y'all can introduce yourselves. My name is Mel Lee, pronouns she, they. I come from the land of the Storyteller Squad. We're an actual play podcast running Monster of the Week. Feel free to check us out on the vendor hall. We got a bunch of cute cryptid-themed goodies for you. And I also run social media for the Storyteller Squad. I like to call myself the social media goblin, because I don't know what I'm doing half the time to be so real. We'll start down over here and let people introduce themselves.
Oh God, me? Okay. Hi guys, my name is Sachiko, or Versachiko across the interwebs. I say I put the V in variety because I don't really know how to stay in just one content lane. My pronouns are she, her, and that's my whole thing.
Hi, nice to meet you all. I'm Cam. I go by Caminator online. My pronouns preferred are they, them. And I am a content creator on the internet. I also do a lot of variety stuff. I'm also a burlesque performer over in Chicago and a filmmaker. Yay!
Hello, my name is Annika Sila. My pronouns are she, they. I'm the brand director at Hero Forge, which, if you are not familiar, we are a character creator for TTRPGs. And I am also a game designer. So a lot of what I'll have to talk about today will be a little bit of game design stuff, but primarily I want to talk about how you can get sponsorships and kind of figure that out if you are yourself a content creator.
Hi, I'm Justice, he, him. I am currently the director of events and licensing at Norse Foundry. I got one foot out the door because I've already started another job as senior events manager for Beckett Dragon Shield. I've been on the backside of the industry. I'm not a front-facing content creator, but I'm familiar with logistics and freight, and I've been doing this about a decade, so that's what I'm going to focus on today.
Hi everyone, my name is Derek. I'm from Omnivore Games. I founded that particular company. I wear a lot of different hats, from being a game designer to also a psychotherapist, and adding to that now apparently a professor of game design and psychology too. You can refer to me however you want, including hey you with the face. That works perfectly fine. It's convention, no one's gonna remember names anyway. But yeah, we're here to hopefully, right, as a whole cast, teach you all about how to network, and why don't we get right into it?
All right, cool. Let's get started. So, easy enough question. What are some tips for someone just starting out, trying to network and promote themselves or their project for the very first time? And I'll let anyone who wants to jump in on that take it.
I'm super happy to start if no one else wants to.
Yeah, go
Okay,
off.
cool. So I think it's really important to start as a community member. So, so often you'll see people come in hot and not necessarily know maybe the creator or the dev or the publisher that they're trying to network with. So start out in their community, then become friendly. Don't necessarily try to go like, oh my God, we're best friends now, because that's not necessarily the best vibe when it comes to kind of networking. But just become friendly, hang out, be chill, and then eventually optionally become friends, because when you're friends with content creators and you're friends with people that make cool stuff, you just naturally want to hype them up, and then they want to hype you up as well, which is really cool. And then just be authentically excited for other people. Like, it's huge. Share people's Kickstarters, back their Kickstarters, share when they're doing cool stuff, read their books, watch their content, and talk to them about it. Just be authentic and show up. I think that's like 90% of it.
Yeah, and on the emphasis of like being authentic, like you said, hype up other people's projects and stuff like that. Don't kill yourself trying to hype up other people's projects. Like, yeah, you want to support your friends, but if you miss somebody's like post on Blue Sky and you're like, shoot, it's been like a month, like, is it weird for me to repost it now? Like, you can still repost it, honestly, or you can, wait for the next one, whatever. Like, your friends will appreciate whatever support you are able to give them when you have the space and energy for it.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that the most important thing is having integrity and being kind. I really emphasize you do not need to be best friends with everyone, and you should not try to be. But you do, especially if you want this to be your job, need to be a good coworker. And that means showing up for people, being reliable, communicative, supporting people and their projects early on, and also having a clear idea of what you are trying to do and what your goal in the space is. There's so many different roles and so many different ways to be a content creator and so many different ways to be involved in the gaming industry, and specifically in TTRPGs. So figure out what aspect you like the best, while also leaving room for exploring various opportunities. You don't need to be on an AP to be part of the TTRPG industry.
I mean, I can expand upon that a little bit too, because I started in like the video game area of content. I like streamed on Twitch in college, and it was kind of what I did for a while. And I kind of jumped around trying to find like what worked. And that's fun and exciting. It shouldn't be, but it can be, and it will be stressful at times, because again, if you want this to be a job, you're going to have job stressors, and there's gonna be things you have to navigate, but like jumping around, finding what content works for you, finding which spaces within content, whether that's the creators or the content itself, finding what works will help you better network and understand how to have those conversations, and avoiding burnout as well. You don't want to spread yourself too thin. You'll die.
And I think one of the biggest things is being genuine. If you come in hot and you reek of ladder climbing, that comes off immediately, and it turns people off left and right. You won't make inroads if you are constantly pushing, trying to feel like you are getting somewhere else. Don't step on people. It's a very small community, and everything comes back to you. You can burn yourself once. So just being genuine is one of the most important things.
Can I interject there and ask you a follow-up as to like what you mean by reek of ladder climbing? For those who aren't familiar, like obviously you don't have to name names or anything like that, but like what's like an example that gives that energy?
Yeah.
Wait, drop the T.
Name the
Hold on.
No, I mean,
Point to them if they're here.
I mean,
Sorry.
So if you're coming in, and there are big names in the space, right? There's the Matt Mercer of the world, right? And if everything that you are doing is to meet that person, it comes across very quickly, because people, you make a connection, and then that person connects you with somebody else. And in your internal ladder, you might feel like that's another rung higher. And then immediately never talk to this person that introduced you again. I've seen it time and time again, where you keep grabbing that clout and you move up one more rung, and it's gross. It comes off really, really quick. And to speak to the knowing your plan going in, treat it like a business. That's the biggest thing that I've seen content creators fail at, is they come in, they're still thinking of it as fun, and it should be fun, but if you want to be successful, you have to treat it like a business. You have to answer those emails, you have to have a plan, you have to do those things to make it successful.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that too and say, like, it does matter to have professional response times, things like, making sure you email people back in roughly 2 days, or let them know why that you can't. And this might just be like the psychotherapist side of me speaking up, but that genuineness also feeds back to you guys too in a really important way. Being a nerd is a really cool thing nowadays. It really wasn't when we were growing up. But,
Yeah.
And we're all people trying to make careers out of this, which is kind of cool, right? Or at least thinking about that. And because being a nerd is actually a really, really wide umbrella. Like when you say that, it's like, are you a tabletop gamer? Are you like a video gamer? Or maybe, I don't know, like you just really like anime or something like that, right? That's all very valid. And to make sure that you're always genuine with someone else, just find something you're actually passionate about first to start with. Because again, if it turns into a career for you, right, and it's something you're doing 9 to 5 all the time, that's like your dream, right? Make sure it's something you actually like doing, Yeah.
oh, sorry. Did you
Yeah, I think the one other thing that I want to say is, I know we're talking a lot about like being a content creator in the space,
For
but
sure.
also being a creator of art, whether you're making TTRPGs, whether you're making video games. Another big part of it is like, if you're looking not just for collaborating with other content creators, but maybe looking for publishers or looking for other game devs to work with, know what they do and tailor, if you're pitching something to them. This is true for sponsorships, this is true for business partnerships, et cetera, IP collaborations. know what you're offering them. Going back to what you said about like ladder climbing, and I'm thinking about Matt Mercer now, and I'm like, please, if you're asking for a sponsorship, don't be like, we're gonna be the next Critical Role. We don't need that. We need what you're doing. We do not need the next Dimension 20. We do not need the next Critical Role. Make something really cool and make something that's unique to you. But point being, for the game devs out there, know what you're asking for, put together a beautiful pitch deck, know what you're bringing to the table. That's a huge part of it. Please, know what you want and know what you're asking for. Massive.
Yeah. And I think also, to close this out, like, be prepared to vet the people that you're going to approach. Like Annika was saying, look them up, like, know what they do. But then also, don't be surprised if people are essentially gonna vet you back. They're gonna look you up, they're gonna see what you have put out there online currently, whether you're a content creator or you're a publisher or an artist, like just getting started. Like, people are gonna wanna see your portfolio, people are gonna wanna see what kind of content you actually make. And so, you know, you might at first, when you're like trying to introduce yourself to people, you might get like a, okay, yeah, cool, like we'll be in touch. And like that feels kind of like a soft no, but it's not necessarily a soft no. It's like people wanna know what you're about first, you know? And so they might need a little extra time to simmer and understand, like, okay, how does this person fit with my business and my brand? You know?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, especially speaking of like making a portfolio, one of the reasons I was able to get a publisher for the game that I'm making now is I just put out a bunch of lasers and feelings hacks, which is like a very simple one-page RPG that if you ever want to make tabletop games, it's such a good one to hack because it's very simple, very fun. And I got traction because I made a lasers and feelings hack about the TV show Psych, which I'm a big fan of. And it was free. It was one page made in a night, basically, but because I had that portfolio, I was able to kind of gain traction with that. So make stuff, just make stuff.
Just make all the things. Okay, so moving on to later on in the timeline. Let's say, you know, you've been in the game for a while and you're not really seeing the results you were hoping for. What would you say to someone to help motivate them to keep going, or like even about how to pivot or something along those lines?
I can start off.
Go ahead.
TTRPGs have changed a lot in the last 10 years, specifically in the last 5 since 2020.
Oh, that's true.
The industry has exploded, and now it is experiencing a plateau. It is important to look at the industry as a whole if you feel like your career is plateauing. Ask yourself if this is something across the board or if this is something you are doing or experiencing solely. The truth is that actual plays don't have the viewership that they once did because we're not all at home with COVID, you know, working from home all together anymore. We don't have time necessarily as audience members to invest 4 to 5 hours a week in TV shows or in APs or podcasts. This is not to say that APs are not still popular, they are, but a lot of us as audience members, our values have changed and our time management has changed. In these cases, you have to be able to adapt, you have to be able to diversify your skill set, and you might not be having luck as a performer, but you could have luck as a writer, you could have luck as a producer, an editor. There are many, many jobs in the industry. It is worth it to learn almost every job. So when you are working on a project, you know if asking someone else to do something is realistic. Yeah. Also, be honest with yourself. Are you meeting deadlines? Are you being a good coworker?
That's true, yeah.
I mean, on top of that, are you treating yourself well?
Yes.
Like, you can be a good coworker to other people, but if you are burning yourself out, that's doing yourself no favors because you can burn yourself out to the point where you're never gonna do this again. And that's sad and not worth it in the end. And on top of that, like, I'm so big on do not focus on the numbers. It doesn't really matter. To some people, it might. I get that. Big numbers are really nice. We like to see them. It is a quantifier for companies and outside perspective. But if numbers mattered, I wouldn't be here. And I am, because numbers really don't matter in the end. It's the connections you make. It's the friendships you make by being genuine, by not being reeking of ladder climbing, just being fully you and being honest with that, and again, being kind to yourself first and foremost, because people can tell when you're starting to burn out and being a little bit of a bummer, and that's not being a good coworker either. So be kind to yourself, I think, is like my biggest thing there. If you're being disappointed in the results you're getting from content, we're in a recession, guys. It sucks. But numbers aren't everything. I have to remind myself that every day. But every single time I do, I feel better about myself, because also at the end of the day, I've made real connections, and that's gonna last longer than my job in the space, and I know that. And that's at least what helps me create even more connections and avoid that burnout, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, on the subject of numbers specifically, like Storyteller Squad, majority of our podcast publishing has been on strictly like audio apps, Spotify, Apple Music, literally any podcaster you can think of, or podcatcher, sorry, wrong term. And then, I found out that you can like sync your RSS feed to YouTube. And that just became like a whole new avenue of engagement with people to get our show out there in a very easy and quick way without having to make like video content for YouTube, aside from like the occasional YouTube short. And it's surprising how many people have joined our cozy little community Discord and said, yeah, I found you guys on YouTube. I was like, are you for real? So my thing essentially is, aside from don't worry about the numbers, but also be ready to look at other avenues that maybe you like thought about, and then we're just like, nah, because maybe that avenue is actually helpful to you. Maybe that actually starts giving you more of the results that you want to see.
I love the term avenue of engagement, because
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that
Go
in a
off.
way that's just complaining, because if you're not seeing success, think about like SEO, think about your marketing. You don't get to just make a game or make an actual play and put it out in the world. It sucks that you can't, but you know what you have to be doing? Your short form vertical for your Instagram Reels and your TikToks, and you need to make sure you're posting on Twitter and Blue Sky and Threads, and you have to make sure you're on every single podcast thing. You have to make content about your content, because the more that you put out there, and even just a Substack, are you publishing devlogs? You have to do it. You have to, even if you don't want to be a content creator, if you just want to make art, that's not the world we live in, and it sucks, and I hate it. But at the same time, I give sponsorships based on people's, what content are they making? So that's a big part of it, where you have to diversify how you're engaging, and you have to make content about your content, and that really can help a lot with seeing success, which is a bummer.
Yeah. We do email newsletters now. We're trying to do them monthly, but like I'm the one who majority does them. I'm struggling out here, y'all. Send help. I'm a little graphic designer guy. Okay.
But you're doing so well, and we're so proud of you. It's tiring.
Thank you. I really try.
And it is hard, but to your point, you have to get it in front of people. You can make the best game in the world, but if nobody knows about it, who's going to buy it? And one of the best ways to do it is conventions like this, but conventions are expensive. It is hard to get into some of them. And my recommend on that is find a company that is hiring booth staff. I have several success stories of contractors that I've hired that had their own business. So, a lot of folks will pay for your flight or your room or your badge or something to make that a more affordable avenue for you to just be there. And yes, you have to work the booth, but you have that badge and you have the time after the show, and you can go talk to the show runners. One of my staff, they own their own business. I brought them to C2E2 last year. They were able to talk to the showrunner and convince them to allow them into the show, and this year they exhibited on their own. So using all of the things available to you, and there's a lot of cheaper options for shows. So a show like Origins, you don't have to have a booth. You can go and you can just demo. You can buy a demo table for $200 and spend the whole weekend. It sucks. You're on your feet. You can't just create the thing and let it go. You have to get it in front of people and demonstrate it and show them that is a good thing. But check out some Facebook groups. There's a really good tabletop game jobs run by Ross Thompson. And there's some great Warhammer or 40K, they're always putting jobs on there. If you want to get into the industry and have a job that pays your bills and then hustle on
You
the
do
side.
have to move to Nottingham, though.
Or Memphis. They've got a lot of things in Memphis.
Okay, I'm choosing Nottingham.
There's so much hate to Memphis right now.
Yeah. And talking to, even if you don't work with, talk to people at conventions, because a lot of them have been doing it for years and years and years, and you might feel like you're in a slump, right? But it might be because you did your first convention in March, and spring is not anytime after tax returns, before summer vacations, nobody's spending money. So you don't know that. You went to 3 shows and they all felt like a bust to you, but that's because it's always that. Every 4 years when there's an election, we have a slump leading up to November because people are scared. People don't know what's going on. And that's the information that you can get just talking to people. You're not trying to get anything out of them. You're just like, hey, I'm new to the industry. And most people want to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, like I'm learning so much right now as a Canadian. I didn't know that. Kidding aside, like I really want to build on that. And a really good way of thinking about an angle of approach is actually thinking not about what you can get out of it. Avoid that kind of ladder climbing activity. And think about it more about what you can contribute to somebody else. And a great place to start is with charity organizations. Those particular charity organizations, they'll do what they can whenever they can to help, right? From flights to hotels and whatever else. You're getting to do something really cool and meeting so many people. And it's because they are charities, they have access to a lot of really cool people who also believe in those particular causes. We've all been touched by things, either ourselves personally or people around us who've suffered a disability, who've suffered some sort of health emergency, and